allowed to do with your property? Tell me. Anything you want? Do you want to eat McDonald's papers in your car and throw them in the car and spill the Coke in the car? It's your property. You should be able to do what you want. Do you believe that you should honor other people's right to do with their property? Yes. It's either yes or no. Good. Yes. But when you're a U.S. citizen and you took on suretyship, look out. Because your property. Is it wrong for the government to do medical experiments on U.S. citizens? Not at all. It's not very well accepted. But that's okay. We'll cook you the rest of the way you've been being cooked. Throw a frog in a boiling pot of water, he hops out. You bring the boil up slowly and it's fine. Aldous Huxley did it for you. He told you in 1932 in the forward section of that book called Brave New World. In conjunction with the freedom to daydream under the influence of dope and
This Creditors in Commerce classroom session, hereinafter session, is the private exchange of ideas and concepts between the providers and the recipients. The content is not meant as legal advice. The use or attempted use of any idea or procedure discussed in this session as applied to the recipient's own personal transactions, cases, or controversy, or applied to other cases, may or may not result in a favorable outcome or the same outcome as discussed in this session. Each transition or transaction, case, or controversy may be different as a result of unique actions or unique statements made by the parties therein, and each different act or statement in any transaction affects or may affect whether any procedure or idea discussed in this session is relevant to your transaction or that the outcome thereof will be depicted as in this session. The discussion of ideas or procedures in this session is not exhaustive of the subject being discussed. Many ideas and concepts that can affect the outcome of any legal or commercial procedure are not discussed in this session, and the fact that you may not be aware of these issues may have an adverse effect on the outcome of your procedure. It is the responsibility of each party to understand his own transactions and to apply the appropriate and complete concepts necessary for a procedural and substantive remedy thereto. This session may be redistributed privately by any recipient to another recipient requesting them, conditioned upon the fact that this notice is provided therewith. If you have any questions, you may contact Brandon by email at harmony@creditorsincommerce.com or by telephone at 702-866-9077.
And away we go. Okay. Couple announcements. Get started. For those of you familiar with Jack Smith, he is doing a seminar in Iowa City, Iowa. For all of you in Iowa, it is. It's only $50. Jack is the best value out. It's 3 days: June 5th, June 6th, and June 7th. So it's coming up quick. It's at the Quality Inn and Suites on Dodge Street in Iowa City, Iowa. It's only $85. The room's going to cost you more than the seminar. It's $85 a night at the room. So those of you who have the means and the time, I would highly suggest that. Also coming up, for those of you interested, there is three Pastor Tony King seminars for those of you who want to learn a little bit about the DTC and enforcement of Standard Form 28, Optional Form 90, 91, Standard Form 24, 25, 25A, Standard Form 30. He's going to be going over all of those. The one coming up next is in Dallas, and I believe that is the 12th or the 11th through the 14th. And to get details on any of the Pastor Tony King seminars, you can send an email. Remember, this is on audio, so you don't have to write it down. Or if you want, you can write it down if you got a pen and pencil. It's freedomtruthseminars@gmail.com, and the U in truth is a V. So it's not a U, it's a V. So it's FREEDOMTRVTH SEMINARS@gmail.com. That's Nana. Send her an email. Tell her which one you're interested in. Like I said, Dallas is going to be the 11th through the 14th. Then there's one in Los Angeles, which I would think everyone in here would probably want to attend that one. It is from June 18th through the 21st at the Marriott in Marina Del Rey. And then there's one coming up in Orlando, Florida from July 9th through 12th. And I think that's it for announcements. Got an email. Marina Del Rey? What about it? The dates? Marina Del Rey? Yeah.
And that's in Marina or LA?
Marina Del Rey. That's, what is that? North Bay? Okay. I got an email. Is Nita here? Nida. Okay, I'm going to read you an email Nita sent me. Seems appropriate. Abundance is on the way to you. It has been written and activated into the ethers and the creative force of the universe. If you listen, you can feel the energy of abundance, prosperity, and resources are returning. A corner has been turned. You can feel this as a lightning in your heart. Some burden has been lifted from your shoulders. Once abundance has been activated in the creative force of the universe, it is also the law of the universe that it has to manifest in the physical world. Be patient. It is on the way to you. The abundance issues you are emerging from was just a bump in the road. It was a bump on our spiritual path. It was only a test to see if you could hold fast to the truth that you do in fact create your reality. A greater number of beings in the collective consciousness have held fast to this truth, even in the dark face of the opposition of this truth. This has shifted your reality from one that manifests limitations to one that manifests freedoms. Some feedback over here. When large masses of humanity in the collective consciousness begin to comprehend a new universal truth, the next event that follows is a test. This test will root that truth deep inside of humanity, so it will no longer be a simple belief in your heads, but a knowing that you feel in your hearts. If you did not have the test, you would not realize the importance of the truth which you just acquired. Any people being tested? The first truth is that you create your reality, and you are personally responsible for your own abundance level. This is not a new truth. Masters, saints, and sages of the past, and creditors, have known this truth for eons. First time the majority of the masses of humanity have been exposed to this universal truth. Everything you have in your life right now is something you created. I know a lot of us do not like to own this because it means that we, each of us, created the abuse, the lack, the pain, and the suffering. But abundance is on the way to you today. You can use this abundance however you please. It is an abundance of creative energy. Put it to use wisely. The second truth that you have been tested on is the truth that you are all connected, yet solely responsible for your personal actions. Geographical location, religious beliefs, social status, age, educational level, and culture do not separate you. Are they not just many paths that bring us to the one? You are all children of God. What happens to one happens to the all. What happens to all happens to the one. There is no escaping this fact. If the masses feel joy, you will feel joy. If the masses feel fearful, you will feel fear also. Once you understood the fact that you are all intimately connected, the event that followed was yet another test. Your test is to feel all that is being experienced in the world, but to take conscious action in a way that will uplift humanity, not add to its darkness. You cannot help feeling what is going on in the world. You are all connected at the heart with universal love. It is a beautiful thing. If you feel fear, work to erase that fear from your consciousness. This not only helps you, but it helps everyone. If you feel joy, find a way to add more light to that joy. What you can do about energies that you sense are negative is to stay positive. By staying positive, you starve the negative. By universal law, it has to dissolve because you refuse to feed it. Remember, we are beings of light and love. What you do with that light either adds to the light or counteracts it. Also in this test, you have realized that just taking care of your personal survival is futile. Thinking solely of your own personal gain has left you feeling empty and unfulfilled. Humanity is moving towards a greater level of conscious community that is globally based but locally acted upon. You are finding that the tasks ahead of you are too big for you to tackle by yourself. You are discovering that you truly do need each other and that community is not just a nice ideal, it is essential. The most important reason why we wish to share this message with you today is because when you believe good things are coming, they will come to you quicker. And in the spirit of the source of the one, are we not all connected? We are also connected to you. We know that when we use our energy to uplift your consciousness and erase your fear, it helps everyone, including us. So, yes, thank you very much. So the way of a creditor. If you're here strictly and solely because you've heard of somebody discharging a debt and you're solely concerned about your own personal situation, you're not going to get it. You're not going to pass your tests. Because the reality of it is, just like that correspondent stated, we are all connected. When you put out negative feelings, malintent towards others, whether they be collection agents on the phone, whether they be government agents at your door, judge in a courtroom, attorneys, whatever you feel and whatever you put out there as intent, when you feel yourself losing that patience, that centeredness, you're going to start to see the things around you fall apart. So take that into consideration, that everything around you is created from inside of you. That everything around you is a reflection of what's inside of you. When you have anger, hatred, and fear, look within. Because that's the only way to extinguish those things. Okay, tonight, and actually for the next 3 weeks, it was a daunting task trying to put together tonight's class because I wanted to do claims, liens, and whatnot, and I realized what a big undertaking this is, and that if I tried to squeeze it all into one night, you'd really miss some of the most important aspects of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off simple. Next week we'll move into full-blown international commercial claims with liens. But tonight we're going to start with simple contract. Doing a claim, establishing a contract via a process. And then we'll move on next week to, like I said, a more complicated process and procedure whereby you're creating a claim and liens and whatever else may come from your claim. And then we'll follow that up the following week with interactions, because your contracts and your paperwork mean nothing. The true test comes in your interactions with each individual person on this planet. And I don't just mean in what you consider your commercial dealings. Look first to the people in your personal life to be a creditor. Look first to how you interact with your father, with your mother, with your children, with your brothers, with your sisters, with your friends, because that's where the real skills can be honed in being a creditor. Because they're your biggest test. Okay? So, how many are familiar with notary and a notary public and the duties of a notary public? What is a notary public?
A witness.
A witness. They are an official witness, okay? And in dealing with perfection of claims, it is a very powerful thing to have a third party, disinterested third party, certifying and witnessing your processes and contracts. Have you ever noticed when you sign a deed of trust for a house, notary public sits there and watches you initial every page, certifies your signature on the final page or on every page that requires your signature? That's a very important part of their aspect, because what they're doing is certifying through a third party who has no interest in the transaction whatsoever that you, in fact, created the trust that you're creating. We know that everything's contract. We know that everything happens through agreement. How many are familiar with the inner workings of trusts? Not very many. A trust is made up basically of three parties. You have the grantor or trustor, you have the trustee, and you have the beneficiary. Those three elements will help you immensely in understanding your claims. And like last week when we discussed conditional acceptance, what happens when we're all authorized representatives representing vessels or commercial entities is that in every contract a trust is created. Because there's more than two parties. Even every dollar bill anything with two signatures would be considered a trust. And if you notice, every dollar bill you have has two signatures on it. Because it's a trust. The United States is a trust. The state of California is a trust. And in dealing in trusts, the trustor puts something into trust, or the grantor. The trustee is charged with managing whatever's placed into trust for the benefit of the beneficiaries. The beneficiary can compel the performance of the trustee. And last week when we were discussing conditional acceptance, see what happened is they send you an offer. Okay? When you are in receipt of an offer, you have now become the trustee. They are the beneficiary. And they're compelling your performance in that trust. If you receive a summons and complaint, and you're named as the defendant, the plaintiff is the beneficiary, and they're charging you as the trustee to perform. If the trustee in any trust argues or fights their duties as trustee, any third party mediating between the trustee and beneficiary will always find in favor of the beneficiary. We don't care what you have to say, trustee. Just do your duty. So when I hold on to an offer, I am the trustee, and my performance on this offer can be compelled by the beneficiary. When I conditionally accept, which has the force and effect of a counter offer, I have now inverted the trust. And I have made the former trustee, or the former beneficiary, the trustee. And now I'm the beneficiary, and I can compel their performance in the contract. Understand that, because that's what you're going to be doing constantly with contract. And if you're the source of a contract, like what we'll be discussing tonight, initiating a contract, you're the beneficiary. But be careful of any responses that come to your offer, even frivolous responses, because you may have as a part of the terms of your contract that they are going to respond in a certain way. However, if they respond in a way outside of that, what they're attempting to do is create another trust, whereby you're the trustee and they're the beneficiary. You need to know how to bring your trust and take...
This Creditors in Commerce classroom session, hereinafter session, is the private exchange of ideas and concepts between the providers and the recipients. The content is not meant as legal advice. The use or attempted use of any idea or procedure discussed in this session as applied to the recipient's own personal transactions, cases, or controversy, or applied to other cases, may or may not result in a favorable outcome or the same outcome as discussed in this session. Each transition or transaction, case, or controversy may be different as a result of unique actions or unique statements made by the parties therein, and each different act or statement in any transaction affects or may affect whether any procedure or idea discussed in this session is relevant to your transaction or that the outcome thereof will be depicted as in this session. The discussion of ideas or procedures in this session is not exhaustive of the subject being discussed. Many ideas and concepts that can affect the outcome of any legal or commercial procedure are not discussed in this session, and the fact that you may not be aware of these issues may have an adverse effect on the outcome of your procedure. It is the responsibility of each party to understand his own transactions and to apply the appropriate and complete concepts necessary for a procedural and substantive remedy thereto. This session may be redistributed privately by any recipient to another recipient requesting them, conditioned upon the fact that this notice is provided therewith. If you have any questions, you may contact Brandon by email at harmony@creditorsincommerce.com or by telephone at 702-866-9077.
Alrighty. Last week, we talked a little bit about credits and debits, and it was brought to my attention by an accountant that a debit in public accounting is your positive entry, and a credit would be your negative entry. And now we're going to distinguish why that is between private accounting and public accounting, and it actually directly relates with the topic of tonight, which is going to be accepted for value. For those on the phone, if you could, until you have a question, mute your phone by hitting *6 on your keypad. That'll mute your phone, and then we won't get any background noises or anything like that. Then if you have a question, just hit *6 again, and you can ask the question. But that way I don't have to turn down the volume for you guys and lock you out. Okay. So when we're looking at, for instance, on a statement you may receive for a bill, let's say it's for your Verizon bill. Anybody in there have Verizon service? And you'll notice that the amount due is a debit entry, and that if your statement includes any payments on that account from, let's say, the previous month, it'll say credits to the account, and it'll be a negative entry. Okay? Now, when they initially sent you the bill, the entry showing as amount due on the private side would be a credit, and on the public side would be a debit. It matters how you pay that bill is what's going to determine whether it's a credit or a debit. Okay, and I'll explain that right now. When you get a bill and it has an amount due, and you pay it with a debt instrument, drafts or notes that are legal tender, you're giving them a debt to pay a debt. Okay? So that makes the entry a debit and your payment a negative credit, because that's public accounting. Now, if you were to use a contractual acceptance of that credit, because if you look at the bill itself as a private offer and you do an acceptance on it, you would convert that into a credit rather than a debit entry, that amount due. Where am I getting the feedback from? Okay. So, anyone here familiar with accepted for value, return for value concepts? Okay, so the documents that will be available from tonight's class, where is my, oh, there it is. Okay, probably the best document on there is a very short document. It's only about 6 pages. And it's called Accept It for Value, Return It for Value. And this is the culmination of years of study done on this subject and what works and what doesn't work. What's provided for in this document by one of our own creditors in commerce actually compiled this document. Those of you who are on the Google group and know Ryan's the one who compiled this document. Okay, he's actually here tonight if you guys want to bug him during the breaks. He's the guy in the black hat over there. So, it's an excellent document. It goes through the details of the hows and the whys of the statements you would use in creating an administrative or contractual remedy, thereby allowing whoever you're returning this to use the credit that they sent to you as the payment for the obligation. Okay? How many have got a Social Security card that is issued after 1999? Okay? Anybody who's going to want to be doing this as a remedy, you're going to want to get a new Social Security card. Those of you who have the Social Security card, anyone have the Social Security card on them? You have it on you? You have it on you too?
Does it require a birth certificate to accomplish it as well?
What's that?
Does it require
No. All right. Oh, wow. Still attached to everything. Okay. All right. This is a Social Security card. Okay? Evidently, this is how they come when you order one from the Social Security Administration. The number on the front, commonly termed the Social Security number or tax identification number, depending on what capacity you're using the number, is the public number. This is the number a bank would use in accessing your credit when you sign a promissory note or anything of that sort. Now, the front of any document is the public side of the document. The back of the document is the private side. What color do we use to distinguish private from public? Anyone know? Red. And you'll notice on the back there's a red number. It's the bond number. It starts with a letter and has 8 digits behind it. Okay? That letter on this particular one is an F. It will be a letter A through L. And it symbolizes one of the 12 Federal Reserve banks that this number is attached to. The 8 digits following that letter is the account number at that Federal Reserve Bank. This is for private remedy. Okay, this is not a public number, not to be used in any public capacity. You would not use this number when getting a driver's license. You would not use this number when applying for a loan from the bank. But you will be using this number if you do any kind of contractual administrative remedies involving acceptance for value. Okay, now the F in accepting for value, what we're going to list this number after is the exemption. I'm going to give you a sample accepted for value statement and show you where and how we would use this number and how to convert the letter itself into the routing number for that Federal Reserve Bank. Now let's say we're doing an acceptance on our Verizon bill. So I'm going to have to write a little smaller, so that when we do pay the Verizon bill, we don't want them to close the account because we want to keep using our Verizon service from month to month to month. So it's a recurring billing cycle, so we're not going to do any kind of a statement that would include the phrase for settlement and closure. Okay, we're just going to do an acceptance and a return. Okay, so the first line would read accepted for value. Second line would read and return for value. The third line would be the word exemption, followed by the routing number associated with that number on the back of your Social Security card, a space, can we please mute on the phone? A space, and then the account number off of the back of the Social Security card.
Written in brackets like that?
No, not written in brackets. Okay, then we will have date. And then by and signature. Okay, so this would be a contractual or administrative remedy involving a recurring or an account that we want to keep open. So paying off your credit card, if you're not looking to close the credit card, making a payment on a utility, electric, telephone, gas, anything like that. Okay, now this isn't the only thing you have to do. This is just the first step. Okay?
Where does that go? Where does it go?
It would go at a 45-degree angle over the statement portion. Is that microphone on that's wandering around? No? Okay. It would go in a 45-degree angle on the statement portion of the bill. So you'll usually have, maybe not always, but you'll usually have a statement and either a coupon or voucher at the top or at the bottom. Most of the ones I see have the payment voucher at the bottom, but I have seen some with the payment voucher at the top. Okay? All right, I'm killing the volume on the phone, people. Sorry, guys. All right. This would all be in red. You could do the signature in blue.
Should you?
I would. Alrighty. So, if we were going to close an account, for instance, if I asked my bank to send me a settlement of an account, and a settlement statement of some kind, for instance, on a house, I forget what they call it. payoff statement. Okay? Same with a car. If you had a car loan, you would call the bank and say, hey, send me a payoff statement of some kind. Property taxes, I would call them and say, hey, can I get a statement for the next 7 years of property taxes? Okay? And if you were going to do it on any of those, because on any of those examples, we would want settlement and closure of the account as well. We don't want to leave that account open if we're going to be settling it and closing it. The statement that you would add to this would come after the and return for value line. So it would be the third line in the statement, and it would say, well, I'll go through the entire statement. It would be the same as this: accepted for value and return for value. For settlement and closure would be line 3. Line 4 would be your exemption line with your routing number and account number. Line 4 or 5 would be date. Line 6 would be by and a signature.
All of that as an autograph. In other words, you do not get a stamp.
I recommend you always handwrite this
As an autograph.
for commercial energy. I've heard of people making stamps, but the only time I've seen these work 100% of the time is when it's handwritten. Okay? So you can make a stamp, and it may work for you, but it may not work all of the time.
And you said put it on the statement portion, not the coupon portion.
Put it on the statement portion, not the coupon portion. What is this?
Stamp.
Rubber stamps. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do this.
Brandon,
I have stamps like that, and I don't use them anymore.
what's the routing number and the account number again?
Routing number, okay, in this example, we're taking the number off the back of the Social Security card. Okay? The account number is the 8 digits following the letter. The letter you would convert into the routing number. Now, this document that Ryan so graciously prepared for you on page 4 has all the routing numbers. Okay? So for F, which is the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, the routing number would be 061000146. It's a 9-digit routing number, as all routing numbers are 9 digits. Okay, now, don't become dependent on this document for those routing numbers. The Federal Reserve publishes these numbers, and these numbers may change, especially after this audio makes its rounds. Okay? So these numbers may change. Find on the Federal Reserve website where they publish these numbers. And what you're looking for are accounts, because there will be multiple routing numbers for each Federal Reserve bank. Okay? Now the letters won't change. A will always be Boston. B will always be New York. C will always be Philadelphia. Anyone got a $1 bill in their pocket? Anyone? Pull out a $1 bill. What's the letter? Just read me the letter. L, so it's San Francisco, right? Yep, San Francisco. Anyone else got one?
Yeah.
You got an L, San Francisco. F, that would be Atlanta. Yep. So B would be New York. G would be Chicago. You should say it right there. The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, right around the letter. I is Minneapolis. What's that? M? Are you looking at a $1 bill? Let me see. That's a L. San Francisco. Yeah. H would be St. Louis. Does it say Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis? Around the letter? D? Cleveland. Okay? Those letters will always be the same. F is Atlanta. B is New York. Yep. Okay. E is Richmond, Virginia. It used to be, and it still is actually. It's just part of the serial number now. If you look at the bond number on a $20 bill, it'll have a letter followed by another letter, and then an 8-digit number and another letter. The first letter is the bank that's issuing that note. That number probably corresponds to your number because you're the ones backing the currency. So your number, that number off the back of your card, is probably printed on several bills. $20 bills, $1 bills, $10 bills, $100 bills.
You had mentioned you were going to tell us where to find that.
No way.
What's that?
Eventually you were going to show us where to find those numbers.
You'd find these numbers on the Federal Reserve website, what you're looking for, because there are multiple routing numbers for each Federal Reserve Bank. You're looking for an account that is both book entry eligible and funds eligible. Those are the two keys. There will only be one routing number for each Federal Reserve Bank that is both a book entry routing number and funds eligible. Okay? Alrighty, so now let's move on to the payment coupon.
Brandon, I noticed these numbers are only 8 numbers instead of 9 numbers.
No, that is an 8. It's supposed to be 8. The account numbers are always 8, just like the back of your Social Security card. The routing numbers are 9, but the routing numbers have to do with that letter.
So the routing number is the Federal Reserve Bank use, and then
The routing number on the back of your, the letter at the beginning of the number on the back of your Social Security card, that's going to tell you what routing number to use. If it's an F, then it's for whatever. If it's an A, it's for Boston. If it's a B, it's for New York. So it depends on that letter on the back of your Social Security card. And then, yes, you would put the routing number that corresponds with that letter right here, and then you would put the 8 digits that follow that letter after it. You don't put the letter. Not on here. Not on the acceptance statement. Okay? Alrighty, so let's do a payment coupon.
Brandon, can you real quick go to the payoff line again?
Yeah, we're going to, do the statement for payoff. It's the same as that, except underneath and return for value, you will put for settlement and closure. That's the only difference in the two statements. Yeah, if you're looking to close an account, you would include the phrase for settlement and closure after and return for value.
So Brandon, your account number is your Social Security number.
No, it is not. Did I say that? One more time. The account number is the 8-digit number following the letter on the back of the Social Security card. Your Social Security number is not on the back of your Social Security card. In red. It is a red number signifying private.
Would you get a reissue of the Social Security card so you can have that? You said something about getting a new one.
Yes. If you haven't been issued a card after 1999, I suggest you get a new one issued. You only get 10 for your whole life. That's a new thing. And it's since 1999. What happened in 99? Bankruptcy ended, right? And another one started. Hold on, can we get the microphones moving? I got questions coming up already. Here, can you pass that back?
$5 bill.
No, wait for the microphone. Oh, no, I'm keeping this one.
I've got a
I'm going to go settle some bills with this Social Security card. Of course, he's more than willing to discharge the debts of his brother.
Okay, I've got a $5 bill here. On the top, it starts off India Echo, then an 8-digit number, and then A. What is that decipher?
The first letter is the Federal Reserve Bank.
I would be what?
It's part of the... we have so many bills in circulation that we can't just go off of an 8-digit number to create all the bills in circulation. So they added 2 extra letters. So you got 8 digits and 2 extra letters. which when you permutate that out, you get a lot more possibilities for bills. And I've heard, now this is barring we don't move to the Amero anytime soon, that they're going to start issuing $1,000 bills. Why would they need to start issuing $1,000 bills? And they've run out of numbers to issue any more 20s, 100s, and anything else. All right. So, now I have a feeling we'll go to the Amero before that. Can we get a microphone over here?
So second part of the question, if I got my Social Security card in 1953, you're saying I ought to get a new one now?
Yeah, because if you got it in 1953, there is no red bond number on the back of that. Even if you got it before 1999, it may have that number on the back, but that account may not be valid. Can we get a microphone over here?
So you use Form SS5 to apply, right?
I believe so.
And online,
if you just go to the SSA office, they'll give you a form. Here, fill this out. We'll get you a new card.
And on line 3, where it says U.S. citizen, alien admitted to work, a student, and other, what box do you check? Other?
Whatever applies to you.
Or U.S. citizen?
Whatever applies to you. Yeah, it's not like you've got to do it one way or another. If you're a U.S. citizen, mark U.S. citizen. If you're a non-resident alien, mark non-resident alien. If you're something else, other, mark that.
Would you get a different number marking non-resident alien over U.S. citizen?
Would I get another number?
Let's get a different number by making that application.
No, you'd have to rearrange your status with the United States. If the United States already has you registered as a U.S. citizen, then you would have to go through the processes and procedures of undoing the contracts that created that entity in order to establish your status as a non-resident alien. And there's
so if I'm putting in an application such as this SS5, and let's say I've done nothing but I mark non-resident alien, is that number going to be different than if I were to mark U.S. citizen, in your opinion?
Probably not. It may set up a red flag to where they're like, hey, wait a minute, this guy in our system is a U.S. citizen. There's something funny going on here. You know, so.
Hey, when's that date again of when the Social Security cards are good? Was
After
that like
99.
I'm sorry?
After 1999.
Okay.
Let's just say no.
Can you go over the new process with the birth certificate and what we're doing with that now?
Okay. No. I'm going to try to get through accepted for value. Maybe after we've gotten through accepted for value, we'll move on to what you may, because realistically, you would use basically the only thing that would change from what you used in the past is putting that routing number and the account number rather than your Social Security number.
On the birth certificate accepted for value.
Exactly.
Can you do that for electric bill, gas bill?
You can do it for anything. Now, hold on. We're not done yet because you still got to do what you need to do with the payment coupon.
Question.
Is that because you're then using the birth certificate bond and connecting to your Social Security Cestacade Trust? Is that what that's doing?
Say that again?
The birth certificate with instead of the Social Security number,
right?
TIN, you're using the account number which connects it to the trust.
Social Security number is a public account number.
Right, but I'm saying
you don't have access to anything associated with that number, so that's why you would use the routing number and the account number in associating it with the monetization of your birth certificate.
Thank you.
Okay? It'd be like depositing a credit into that account. Okay?
So you have to have a birth certificate responded to take place?
No. I'm just saying that's what you would be doing if you did it on your birth certificate and sent that into the Secretary of the Treasury. Now, I don't know if the Secretary of the Treasury would be who do you want to send it to. You might want to send it to Federal Reserve. Microphones?
Can I pay somebody else's bill with my exemption?
I don't see why not, because I can write a check for your car payment and they'll accept it all day long. However, I don't know. I haven't tested that yet, all we've done for testing is, this is my bill, I used this statement, and it worked. Okay? Every time that we've done it this way that I'm explaining to you today, so far it has worked. Okay, now we haven't gotten all the way through yet. So remember, there's some other things you need to include in this process for it to work. Okay, so any more questions before we get on to the payment coupon? Do you have a microphone? Can you pass that back?
If you use the
Go ahead.
If you use the pre-1999 Social Security, it still may work, but it may not. That's what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and if it doesn't work, they will tell you it doesn't work, or is there any way you would know?
Yeah, when your account doesn't get settled or when your
then
payment doesn't go through,
it's not working.
You will know that
then it's
routing.
when technically that's when you can go and get an.
If you did everything else correctly, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Now remember, just getting the statement right isn't the only aspect or facet of this process that needs to be done correctly in order for your account to be settled or for a payment to be credited or debited. Okay, when we're looking at it from the private side. All right, so payment coupons typically look something like this. You know, cut below this line kind of deal. Write in the amount of the payment right here. Probably some name and address information. And then there'll always be, not always, but typically, on the bottom left-hand corner of a payment coupon, there's going to be routing information, like a check. So you'll see some numbers down here. All right? Typically, it'll include the amount of the payment that they're expecting encoded in this number. It'll include your account number with that entity. If it's your Verizon bill, it would be your Verizon account number would be encoded down here at the bottom of the coupon. Okay? All we're going to do with the payment coupon is write in the amount of the payment. So if it's a Verizon bill and $500 is due, you're going to write in $500. That's it. Then you're going to sign it in the lower right-hand corner. Blue ink.
Don't they require you to do that anyway?
What's that?
Don't they require you to do that anyway?
No. Do they require you to, sign your name in the lower right-hand corner? No.
Is the 500 in blue ink or red?
Blue.
So this is the public.
It's the acceptance statement is the private. And it's got private routing information on it. Now, what you're doing on the coupon doesn't necessarily need to be in red because you're not putting any kind of... See, what you're doing is the coupon, if you read the instructions on it, says include this with your payment. You're giving them permission to use the credit on the statement as a credit. See, if you sent them a check, you're now handing them a debt. It converts it to a debit because they're like, oh, this guy wants to work on the public side. If you do a banker's acceptance, you're working on the private side. Everything's backwards and mirror image in the private versus the public. Okay? So, you would sign it here, write in the amount, flip it over, and turn it clockwise, just like endorsing a check, and you would just sign. So this is going to be a little mini version of the coupon down here. So just like that, if you guys can see that. This is the back of the coupon. You would sign it at the top. What's that? Blue.
Not by, just simply your signature.
Not by, just simply your signature.
You don't detach that coupon from the statement. You leave it all intact.
You detach it. Yep.
All right, all right. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Hopefully I'm coming in loud and clear. I got a lot of folks that definitely I'm going to be reaching today, so I decided, I'm not afraid. I just don't like to do a whole lot of stuff in the public, but YouTube seems to kind of work a little bit for what I'm trying to get done. So I'm going to attempt to kind of give you some information as much as I can through this actual link here. If you got any questions, you can definitely use the chat. I do my best to answer any questions that you have pertaining to what we're going to go over today. I'm going to go back over to 8302 returns. I'm going to go over transmittal bonds. I'm going to go over the ADP platform. We're going to go through the whole 9 yards in a way where everybody should be able to follow. Then those of you that need a little bit more hands-on, if you got this far in terms of reaching me, then you know how to get at me directly through Bitrix and various other things that are there. Again, you can use the chat, the YouTube chat, to send me any questions pertaining to any of the stuff that we're going to cover in this particular segment. So I'm going to do my best to try to share some different things with you, kind of walk you through a lot of this. And again, there is enough information to free anyone who wants to be free. A lot of folks right now are facing economic hardships because the job market, the economy is doing a lot of things. And we technically have to get into we got to technically get into a position where we really understand how to overcome these things. For example, a lot of individuals are being forced to figure out, how do I substantiate what, let's say you were in the working force and you were working a job and your job has left you. They're reducing hours, they're laying you off because, again, your business may not be essential. So they are offering all this stimulus, but look, let's be perfectly honest. Was $5,000 gonna make a break? Is $5,000 enough to sustain your household? Is $10,000 enough to sustain your household? Because the stimulus monies that were being given by the general public was in excess of $5,000 to $10,000, which means that's not enough. So your standard of living is greatly going to be affected by your ability to stay marketable. We're in the world's biggest wealth transformation campaign in history. And you got to make yourself a part of that wealth transformation on the receiving side if you're going to have any opportunity and or chance to move forward. The only thing that doesn't change is change. Look, we want to go back to normal. Look, what you left wasn't normal. Where you was at, it was nothing normal about where you were before COVID, to be honest. Now, again, we got great news. Today is about opportunity. There's news. Look, I had reached out to a couple individuals based upon what we've been working with. A few of my guys who have kind of progressed up the ladder reached back out, so to speak, and said, well, look, this is what we can do. And I'm going to start today's accounting segment and talking about, I have a judgment, now what? Okay. Now, those of you that have participated in arbitration, let me share this with you because, I want you to see this in real time. I want you to understand what we're talking about. So let me just, let's bring my screen up here. So bear with me because I'm going to go to my screen where we actually have done arbitration. I'm going to log in. I'm not going to share that because I don't need everybody seeing my login like that. But I'm going to come. Hey, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to just show it. And, hey, it is what it is. Hey, believe it or not, the broadcast that I did, they banned it in 6 different countries. 6 countries. What we did last night, they won't even let it air. So I'm just saying, take notes, pay attention. It is what it is. So, let's see if I can bring this up. This is why I don't like YouTube. But, hey, hey, we're going to not complain. We're going to get it in. So, all right. Which button I press? Okay, let's see. I think I press this one. Yeah, that's the one. Now that I got this one up, I need to... Okay, let's see how I'm going to do that. Let's see. I'm going to there. All right, I want to... That's interesting. I want to bring up... What do I want to bring up? I want to bring up my Okay, so hold on. Bear with me. I can't do it that way that I wanted to do it. So let's go back to that screen. Close that. Yeah, see, it's getting a little funky here. It doesn't want me to show what I want to show. So how do I do this? Do I go to my desktop? Let's try desktop. Maybe it'll let me do the desktop. Let's see. Desktop. Desktop. No, not that desktop. Not that. Client. There we go. That one there. Bing, bing, bing. All right. Hope you guys can see my screen. All right. If you can see my screen, just give me a thumbs up in the chat. Because if you can see my screen, this is where we put all our cases at when we do arbitration. And this number right here is the present cases year to date that has already been assigned. This is what's already been resolved. So the difference between the small number and the big number is what's in the kitty. Feel me? This number here, resolved. This number here, assigned. The difference between those two is what's in the kitty. Now, how do you use what's in the kitty in terms of what's been arbitrated? Well, this is what happens. Like, I'm going to open up a case. Like, let's go to profit recovery. And I'm just going to look at the accounts here. All right, now letting this load up. All right, now we're looking at the accounts. Now I'm going to go to, let's just for laughs and giggles, I'm going to go to this case right here. Let's go to view account details. All right, you see this right here? This tells me everything they did with this particular case. This tells me when I went to the bankruptcy screening, the DNC, the whole 9 yards, blah, blah, blah. Now, inside of this, you're going to see all the stuff they sent to the client. So when I hit that, you see all the species. Wait a minute, Bezos, those are species? Yes, these are species. Now I'm going to actually show you what I've been telling you guys as notice what you can actually do. And then I'm going to hit you with all the other stuff to make this go. All right, now for security purposes, I'm going to bring one up that's already done. I'm not going to go into that because I don't want no issues. So just bear with me. Hold on. Hopefully I ain't lost everybody. And we're going to now go back to this screen for me to go into my other screen. Because my other screen is what's going to have what actually is in the packaging. Now, here we go. Now let me change the portal right quick. Go back into the portal. And I am going to change this view from what you're looking at now to another view. All right, close that. And so I'm going to go back into the portal. Voila. Hope you guys can see that. This is an actual transmittal bond. Bazell, what the hell is a transmittal bond? Now, let me go to it and just highlight some things. Now, we serve as creditor on behalf of the clients that we arbitrated. There's the account number. That's the amount that's owed. This transmittal bond, this is the money shot. Because at the bottom of this transmittal bond is an international bill of exchange that the client only needs to do is what? Endorse and send back. Now, when they don't endorse and send this back, well, we take this credit and then we use it on behalf of the quote-unquote what? Client. I might be going a little fast. Those of you that are not familiar with the notarial, the administrative process dealing with presentment, you need to do a little bit of research. Those of you that know what I just said, this is the money right here. Now, I reached out to a couple of my proteges as of today, and what they have told me was because of all the stuff that's going on in accounting, we have an ability to get very creative in the fintech space. So, if we do arbitration and TSI issues us a transmittal bond that can be liquid, I have a bonding company that can actually use a transmittal bond to fund it back into the public. Whoa, Bazille, you're going a little fast. Slow down. Okay, I might be going a little fast. So let me do this. Let me just hip you back to some information that we kind of went over a little bit yesterday. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it because I didn't think I really needed to, but because we got a lot of new people and we want to make sure everybody's on point, I want you to listen to this, and then I'm finna, because it was going to talk about the 8302 return. I told you we're going to talk about the 8302 return, these transmittal bonds, ADP, and and how this stuff works. So I want you to listen to this, get your questions together. I'm finna check the chat, see if I got any questions, and then we're going to go from there. Keep listening, because if you listen long enough, you just might learn something.
In fact, check that either. Instead, the American media, as a group, dutifully amplified the message.
February 2, 2018. Foster v. Deutsche Bank.
Perfection of security interests in United States federal income tax refunds. From time to time, businesses anticipate receiving a large federal income tax refund. When such a situation arises, there may be a desire to borrow against the proposed refund in order to access the anticipated funds more quickly than they would otherwise be available. Secured lenders may also wish to perfect a security interest in future federal income tax refunds to further collateralize existing loans secured by all assets of a borrower. Both sides to a loan transaction may therefore be interested in the method to create and perfect a security interest in a federal income tax refund. Execution of security agreement describing the collateral. Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code governs security interests in most types of personal property. Because Article 9 does not expressly exclude federal income tax refunds from its scope, the grant of a security interest in a federal income tax refund is subject to the provisions of Article 9, Del. Code Ann. Tit. 6, Section 9 to 109A. Because no section of Article 9 expressly discusses federal income tax refunds, such refunds are deemed to be general intangibles. See Del. Code Ann. Tit. 6, Section 9 to 102A, 42. To create a security interest in a general intangible such as a federal income tax refund, a borrower must grant a lender a security interest through a security agreement or similar instrument. Under Del. Code Ann. Tit. 6, Section 9 to 203, a security interest is enforceable with respect to specific collateral against the borrower and third parties when a. value has been given, i.e. a loan has been made, b. the borrower has rights in the collateral or the power to transfer the collateral, and copyright the borrower has executed a security agreement or similar instrument that describes the collateral, the security agreement, and the UCC-1 financing statement to be filed in connection with it, must describe the collateral in reasonable detail. Del. Code Ann. Tit. 6, Section 9 to 108A. Though a description such as all general intangibles is likely sufficient, a reference to the specific federal income tax refund in question, or at least a reference to all federal income tax refunds might be preferable for both the borrower and the lender. Execution of IRS and DOT forms. The execution and delivery of a security agreement coupled with the filing of a financing statement creates and perfects a lender's security interest in many types of personal property. In the case of a federal income tax refund, however, additional steps are necessary to allow the lender to obtain payment of the federal income tax refund directly from the IRS. In addition to the security agreement discussed above and the UCC-1 financing statement described below, a lender should also prepare and have the borrower execute the following IRS forms: A. Form 2848 Power of Attorney, Form 2848, and B. Form 8302 Electronic Deposit of Tax Refund of $1 million or more, Form 8302. Form 2848 allows an individual, other than the borrower, to obtain the federal income tax refund on behalf of the borrower. Part 1, Section 6 of Form 2848 requires the name of an authorized representative who will receive the federal income tax refund instead of the borrower. Form 2848 does not, by itself, authorize the authorized representative to endorse or cash the federal income tax refund. That requires an additional DOT form described below. For purposes of preparing Form 2848, the person named as the authorized representative must either be A. an attorney, B. a certified public accountant, or copyright an enrolled agent as defined in Treasury Department Circular No. 230. In order for the IRS to process Form 2848 quickly, the person listed as the authorized representative should be an individual that has already received what is known as a Centralized Authorization File or CAF number from the IRS. If there is no such person, the IRS will assign a CAF number to the individual listed as the authorized representative. Form 2848 should be faxed to the appropriate CAF service center. In cases where the lender expects that the federal income tax refund will equal $1 million or more, the lender should require the borrower to execute a Form 8302 authorizing the IRS to wire the proceeds of the federal income tax refund to an account maintained by the lender for the benefit of the borrower, i.e., an account for the borrower that is located at the lender's financial institution. Form 8302 should be filed with the borrower's tax return, if possible. Otherwise, Form 8302 should be mailed to the same IRS address where the borrower files its annual tax return. In addition to the IRS forms referenced above, the borrower must also execute the following forms: A. Form 235 Resolution by Corporation conferring authority upon an officer to execute a power of attorney for the collection of checks drawn on the United States Treasury, Form 235, and B. Form 234 General Power of Attorney for the collection of checks drawn on the United States Treasury, Form 234. The forms authorize the lender to endorse the checks, or in the case of a wire transfer, to ultimately deposit the funds in an account for the benefit of the lender. Filing a UCC-1 financing statement. To perfect a validly created security interest in a federal income tax return, a lender must file a UCC-1 financing statement using the description of the collateral contained in the security agreement in the appropriate filing office under the UCC. Del. Code Ann. Tit. 6, Section 9 to 310A. In most cases where a lender is filing against an entity borrower, that financing statement should be filed in the office of the Secretary of State of the borrower's state of incorporation. Del. Code Ann. Tit. 6, Section 9 to 307E. Lenders should be aware that following the IRS and procedures outlined in Section 2, above, will not absolutely guarantee that the lender will receive the borrower's federal income tax refund directly from the IRS. First, lenders should be aware that the IRS has not always honored Form 8302 and has in some instances mailed checks despite receiving a Form 8302. Second, a lender must keep in mind that a taxpayer has the right to revoke any of the above referenced IRS and forms. While not a perfect solution to the problem, the loan documents related to the loan secured by the federal income tax refund should prohibit the borrower from revoking any of the IRS or forms and should make any such revocation an event of default. The loan documents should also grant the lender a power of attorney to prepare and submit such forms if and to the extent needed as a result of such revocation, though it is not entirely clear that the IRS or would accept a form executed on behalf of a taxpayer by a power of attorney. Third, a lender should keep in mind that the IRS has the right to use all or part of a taxpayer's federal income tax refund to offset a prior outstanding balance. Therefore, before making a loan secured by a federal income tax refund, a lender should obtain some familiarity with its borrower's prior tax filings and situation to confirm that no outstanding amounts are owed to the IRS at the time of the loan and that its borrower is not under an active audit at the time of making the loan. Mr. Strain and Mr. Flock are attorneys in our Memphis office.
February 2, 2018 Foster v. Deutsche Bank Nat. Trust CO. 848F. 3D 403. Court of Appeals. 5th Circuit 2017 804.
You guys aren't ready for appeal cases right yet, so let me just stop that one right there. So you just make sure everybody is on point. All right, the breakdown of the 8302 returns are simple. They are creditors' returns. So let's fast forward. You went through arbitration, and you now got an award. You want to use that award to take care of public obligation. Let's say it's of a certain amount. An 8302 return is $1 million tax return. So you're going to have clients that could actually qualify for an 8302 return because if we're showing at least, let me say it this way. What we're dealing with is revenue. Matter of fact, you know, hey, it's all about, they say sharing is caring. So, hey, let me just, before I go into it, let me just show you because I don't want to just be talking all empty. I want you to be like, I get it. But You know, sometimes when you see it, you really get it. When you don't see it, you bob your head. You think you got it. You know, you say you got it, but you know, you gotta feel me on this, and I want you to feel me. So I'm finna show you the debt clock. Oh, we're going to the debt clock? Yeah, because you got to see this. You got to see this. You got to see this so you understand how this stuff works. All right, so we're going to go to the debt clock. So let me bring up my magic screen. There go the debt clock. All right, now, you're looking at the debt clock. You're looking at it. You're looking at it. You're looking at it. So keep looking at it. All right, while you're looking at this debt clock, you're going to see that this thing has United National Debt. But that part of the debt clock that I really want to get into is the one that deals with the state revenue. So I'm actually looking for the state. Where is that information at? Debt clock time machine, state debt clock. There we go. Boom. I'm going to hit the state debt clock. All right, most of you guys probably are in Georgia, so I'm just going to pick on Georgia for a second. Boom. Now, here's the debt clock for Georgia. Hope everybody can see that, right? You guys are staring at the debt clock, right? You see it, right? So the number that's going really fast is hundreds. The other number is thousands. The next section is millions, and the other section is billions. So in the in-state revenue is 80 billion. Now let's come over to the state spending. Well, they got 80 billion that they have, and they're spending 95 billion. Whoa. So you mean to tell me that the state can have a revenue number in one capacity but spend more than what they have? Correct. Keep that in mind. Remember, I'm just the messenger. This is the construct. This is how these municipalities are operating. So let's now go back to the debt clock. Now, when you go back to the debt clock, I want you to come on down, like the Price is Right, to where it says, and I quote, it's going to give you the dollar to silver ratio, 4.290 per ounce. Then you're going to come down to where it says dollar to gold ratio now, which is $32,721. What that means is for every ounce of gold that you hold, you're supposed to be attracting 32,000 per ounce. For every ounce of silver that you hold, you're supposed to be attracting 4.2. This all works in the aspect of how you're evaluating your estate and how you get to utilize that formula I just showed you under the state debt clock. Hopefully you got that. Now, if you got that, hold on, because I'm just getting warmed up. Now, let's go to what I was just looking at. Not this, not that. We done went through the whole indemnity bond thing. Well, man, we done the transmittal bond thing. I mean, now we're finna talk about how you do the 8302. All right. Matter of fact, I got some 8302 information. All right, I'm gonna show you some. I'm gonna show you the forms that you need to do the 8302. Just so you won't say, well, I don't know what that looks like. I'm not sure. So let's go. And I'm actually yeah. I don't know if you guys can see this screen. You probably can't see this screen. I don't think you can see. Oh, you can. Okay, good. You can see. You're in my Bitrix. All right. Welcome to my world. All right. You are in my space now. So what I do is I want to show you what an 8302 return looks like. So I'm going to actually go down to my drive here. I hit the drive. Maybe it's a little camera shot. I might hit it again. Oh, it's doing something. It's saying, nigga, wait. It's saying, hold on. I'm coming. You're moving too fast. You know, we're going to get it together. I'm a little anxious. I'm a little happy, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So I'm going to go through my folders here. All right, 8302 returns. There go my folder right there. Boom. All right, now, we got a lot of good stuff in here, but let's see. We're going to show everybody what you're going to need to do an 8302 return. All right, you're going to need let's start with the 8302 itself. Let's show you what it looked like. What is it? What is an 8302, Bazelle? This is an 8302 form right here. Hopefully there you go. This is nothing more than a deposit slip. An electronic deposit of tax refunds of $1 million or more. That's why we call it an 8302 return. See, it's nothing to it. It just has your name that's shown on the income tax return. It has the name and location, city and state, identifying number, taxpayer's phone number, direct deposit or Fed wire, routing number and account number. That's where this going to go. So this is what this form is. This form is letting the United States Treasury know where to send the $1 million in funds as far as tax refund. All right. Now, okay, 8302 return. Now, you're going to have what they call a 234 form. What is a 234 form? Well, let's look at it. 234 form is, drum roll, please. A 234 form is a general power of attorney form. Bazell is a power of attorney form? Yes, that's what it is. It's a power of attorney form. And it's by corporations for the collections of certain checks drawn upon the United States Treasury. So this right here, you got to include that with the information, with the actual 8302 form, so they'll know that, that you got power of attorney to execute the proceeds on how this go. Notaries, keep note of this, because there's something notaries can do with these power of attorney forms that civilians can't. So a 234 form is a general power of attorney. Okay, then you got another form, which is the 235. What is a 235, Bazell? Here's what a 235 looks like. This is to execute a power of attorney. So one is the power of attorney, and the other is to execute. It's the executable form. So one is the actual power of attorney. The other form, 235, lets you execute. And notaries, this gets very interesting if you know where I'm getting ready to go with the conversation. So let's just recap so far. I've shown you the 8302. I showed you the 234 form and the 235. There are some other forms that go with this. Yes, because you're going to probably need to get your CAF number. So what do I use to get a CAF number, Bazell? Well, you're going to need this form called 2848. So what is a 2848? Drum roll, please. And here you go. Wait a minute, Bazell, that's a power of attorney form. Of course it is. See, hope you're starting to see something. I hope you're kind of trying to see. I hope this is starting to, and when I show this to people versus me just calling out numbers and they're like, they don't want to sound like I'm going to send a bolt of lightning. If you just say, Bazell, I don't know what the hell you just said. They just bob their head like they understand. But when I show the forms to you, then my conversation changes, because I say, did you not see what part of what you don't see do you do not understand? All right. You got to have power of attorney. Notaries. If you got a power of attorney, that puts you in a certain type of position. I'm showing you this for a reason. This is how you're going to get your CAF number with this form. And I said I was going to share the phone number on where you would call to actually get a CAF number. And I will. Matter of fact, those of you that actually need that phone number, like really, 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 really need it, just send me a request. Look, you hit me up in the chat. And we'll make it happen. But you need the 2848 form to actually get that whole game popping. And if you're a notary, what better place to play this side of the fence than having this on file so you can coordinate the transaction. And again, I know everybody don't read. I know I'm a geek, I'm a nerd, I love to read and that kind of stuff. So, but there's something real interesting about when you read all the things you can do with this form. That's going to be real interesting. Because remember, we're talking about transmittal bonds. I get it. Before I go any further, because it's like, all right, you got the 8302, you got form 234, you got form 235, and then you got the 2848. What else is needed? Well, you're also going to need the actual tax return itself, and you're going to need a UCC1. What? A UCC1? How many people actually do tax returns and send in financing statements? Like balance sheets and spreadsheets and printouts from the bank and all that kind of stuff when they want receipts. You do all that. How many people that actually does creditor returns with UCC1s? Well, you just heard in the recording that you just listened to that talked about how to perfect security interest by using a tax return, and you use a UCC1. So it's going to be all those forms I just showed you, plus the return itself, plus a UCC1. Now, I know, I get it. A lot of folks say, Bazell, what is a UCC1? I mean, I hear you guys talk about it. Now again, do I need to really bring up a UCC one just to show everybody what, who doesn't? Matter of fact, it's what I do. I'll show you what a UCC one is if you don't know what one looks like. Send me a chat. Let me know, this, that, and the other. Now, okay. Here's what we're about to do. Now that everybody's kind of back on point of making it do what it do. All right. When you got all those forms, you're ready to submit your 8302 return. Now, this is where ADP comes in. When you fill out those power of attorney forms, all the ones I just showed you, and if you got an ADP account, now you can actually put a banker's acceptance on a draft from the account that you've already submitted to the Treasury. And then you can forward a species to another potential vendor or creditor with the banker's acceptance. You got to have the power of attorney forms in place. You got to substantiate the transaction before you're doing what you're doing. But you're not waiting for the public to do anything. And see, these transmittal bonds, that's what actually fuels the wire transfers. See, they don't know whether the paper's good or not. So they got to have something that's like a payment guarantee. And that's what a transmittal bond is. It's a payment guarantee. Now, the one that I just showed you for your arbitration cases, once you have already gotten that, now the debtor has already been put on notice and there's a bond already backing it. So all you're doing is substantiating. Hopefully this is starting to make a lot more sense to everyone. Hopefully it is what it is. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you guys kind of, fill in. I'm going to go through the questions as we go and make it do what it do. Keep listening, because if you listen long enough, you just might learn something.
1A forward. Living is a continual educational process. If you want to be free and free from debt, it is your responsibility, and yours alone, to educate yourself. No one can do it for you. This compilation is simply a guide. It is not set in concrete. It changes constantly as the realm of experience grows. Remember that not too long ago it was a crime to teach American slaves to read and write, that the prevalent philosophy was to keep women barefoot and pregnant. Unfortunately, too many of us have been ignorant of how our world really works, and we have not done much reading and writing, or much to change it. We have let others make our decisions for so long that we have forgotten how to make informed choices. You've made a decision that you want to eliminate your debts. Well, it will require diligence on your part to educate yourself, to learn how to use the tools widely and openly available, to learn what is really law and how to conduct commerce, topics our schools have purposely omitted from the curriculum. Don't expect lawyers, bankers, accountants or teachers of this philosophy to bail you out. It is your job to step out of the box. You'll find this process is a revisiting of English 101. Everyday usage of language is not commercial reality. Learn the real meaning of the words you speak. If you use words correctly, there will be no misunderstanding about their applicability. In order to advance on any path, you must decide if the process to get there fits your philosophy and ability. Decide if you really want to pursue the process, learn all that you can from many sources, weigh the validity of all information, decide if it will accomplish what you desire, personally verify the accuracy of the materials, do the research, learn the code sections and your state statutes, know who you are so you can adapt the correspondence to reflect your status, and put your safety nets in place before you jump off the cliff. No one can do it for you. You can learn from others' experience, but each of our experiences utilizing this information is different, and the response we obtain from creditors will vary. You must have the knowledge internalized so you know how to respond to any situation, to be assured that what you are doing is right. If fear is still part of your psyche, then you have not educated yourself sufficiently and gained the confidence to move forward. Stop and step back if that is the case. If you truly want to get rid of your debt instruments, you must protect yourself and your family first. If you own nothing, you have nothing to lose and no exposure. If an adverse credit report will affect how you earn a living, it would be wise to consider the ramifications of what is presented herein and how it may affect you. A word of advice: Be sure to initiate a dialogue with the credit reporting agencies, CRA series, before, or at least concurrently, with the credit card, CC, series. If you can afford to structure your belongings such that you own nothing, you will have little to risk. If you have a credit card associated with your bank account, it would be wise to lower that balance as much as possible before eliminating all other credit card debt. The goal here should be to no longer live. Many of the letters have an option to be from the secured party. If you are not a secured party for your strawman, be sure to change your return address, the content and the signature to fit who you are. On credit. Remember that old adage, neither a lender or a borrower be. Strive for it. Pay for your daily expenses with FRNs and stop using those credit cards. Checks and credit cards leave a trail for others to know what you spent, when and where. FRNs provide privacy. 1B tips. On your desktop, set up a master folder for the honor-dishonor process with subfolders for tools and resource materials you gather, and an additional folder for your personal documents you have customized and scanned or faxed to yourself to be attachments to documents you mail. Later, after you have the documents just the way you want them, you can copy and paste them into folders for each credit card. Next time you're at the post office, pick up lots of priority mail envelopes, PS Form 3811 green return receipt postcards, and PS Form 3800 certified mail receipts. A few extra is always a good idea. Many clerks will not want to let you have registered mail labels. When sending your mailings out with a PS Form 3811, to avoid the possibility that some agent will remove the post office's pre-printed numerical service label on the 2-article number space, write your service number in the appropriate space and then place the service label number over it. Then, place a strip of transparent tape over the service label number. Abbreviations are used throughout the writings. CC equals credit card. CRA equals credit reporting agency. DC equals debt collector. CA equals conditional acceptance. A equals affidavit. POS equals proof of service. DO is to be replaced with your name. ND equals notice of dishonor. NP equals 2ND notice of dishonor. CD equals certificate of dishonor. Green color print in sample letters is to bring your attention to some word or phrase which you must correct to fit your circumstances. Highlighting is to make you decide if the wording applies. If it does not, delete the words and the highlighting. Sample letters are set up to accommodate joint obligors. If you are the only obligor, be sure to change all grammar and pronouns to reflect me and I instead of we. Delete the word collectively in the return address reference as you are not more than one. Remember that the law applies to the strawman, the fiction created from your birth certificate and social security number, and are not you, the living, breathing soul. Only the principles of the law apply to the you, living soul. You must determine who you are in order to accurately reflect your return address on the templates. They are set up to reflect a secured party. If you do not know what that means, you are likely not a secured party. To become a secured party, you would have already filed UCC-1s in the appropriate Secretary of State's offices. If you are not a secured party, change the return address information and signature lines of each template to reflect the current status, your name and mailing address in standard format, but in all capital letters, for example. John Doe. 123 Main Street. Anytown, USA 00000. I see who you are and privacy. One of the first things you must determine in embarking on this process is who you are and who is writing the notices/letters, the strawman, living soul or secured party, and you have to be consistent throughout the process. If you have already recorded your copyright on the strawman and UCC1 on your strawman, you may choose to have your documents reflect you are the secured party, or you may wish to respond only as the true name, living soul, or even as the strawman. If you have not established your position as a secured party, be sure to delete all references to the secured party. The living soul has a name in upper and lower case letters. The straw man is in all uppercase letters. The living soul and secured party are always right, which means they sign on the right side of the page. The straw man is a debtor and is reflected on the left side of the page. You must customize the templates to match who is writing them. The straw man is in the box and doesn't need registered mail. Registered mail comes from in the box to in the box. A living soul uses registered mail to traverse the border into the box. Due to the many multi-letter agencies trying to discourage and even intimidate living souls from regaining their rights, it is advisable that you send your first document, the CA/A, presentment, BOE, by private courier with signature guarantee rather than through the USPS. We have found that generally UPS and airborne are less expensive than Federal Express. Regardless of who you are, learn how to protect your privacy. Think about how completely different your life would be if they couldn't find you or take away the strawman stuff.
Now, it is best to do this process with the assistance of a public official such as a civil law notary. Did y'all hear that? I know they didn't say it exactly like how I said it, but I'm trying to be the interpreter. You need to do this certified mail with a professional public official, a notary. A notary doing this can get a whole lot of more leadway. Okay, here's a question that comes up. You know, I heard this in one of the broadcasts a while back with Brandon. Well, can someone else use their exemption to pay off someone else's debt? And that's kind of like a 50-50, because if I don't have a relationship, I'll just tell you in my take on it. Matter of fact, I'm going through that, something similar to that right now. Because the creditors that I have been dealing with, they're used to dealing with the paper. They're used to me dealing with my paper and my contracts. When it's a new person, they got to get reiteration. So they may act as though they don't know what to do with the species. They may keep it and don't return it. I got to go through this whole song and dance because it's not, quote unquote, my debt. I'm actually acclimating on behalf of someone. So it's kind of like this. In my experience, it always works best when if you have a contract with that individual and you're using your species, then you get a better result. If you're going to use someone else's species, you got to tie in all the players. Like, you got to know, and there's going to be a deficiency if everyone you're dealing with ain't on your level. What do I mean? If I'm dealing with someone in the public who just got a bank account and I'm telling them that I need CTRs and all the other stuff, and he's looking at me all cross-eyed and don't know what to do, then I need to speak to someone that has that capacity. And good luck, because the client that I'm dealing with, he or she is supposed to be the man or woman, and they are, but they're not, because they don't have a clue. They're in the public. Now, legally, the only thing I have to do at that point is just say, well, you do know where the courtroom is at, in your county and state. Yeah, I know where that's at. All right, so you go there and you do this, that, and the other there. Well, I don't want to do all that. Well, if you don't want to do all of that and you're trying to collect over here, then you need to get with your bank and find out who your banker is, who's your comptroller. We need to get a banker's affidavit filled out. We need to do all this stuff. And again, that sounds like work, because they're like, well, why do I have to do all that? Why can't I just... See, they don't realize that you have given them an entire process and you're in the private. And they say, well, fine, I want to, it's like, well, you can't, it's not Burger King. You can't have it your way. You cannot bring substance into the public and still think that it's going to have any substance, because the public doesn't use substance. They use form. The public uses form, not substance. You're from substance, so they got to go get a form that will work for them. Now, they will tongue wrestle with you and me all day as the individual trying to get them across the line. They're not going to argue with that neutral magi in the black robe. For some reason, that magi is God, and whatever he or she says, go. So all you're doing is saying, well, look, this is the process. This is how it needs to go. Go see Judge Judy. The end. I'm not trying to draw this class out to a very long one, because I may have some real questions from a lot of you guys that are in your respective lanes. And this is what I'm going to do. If you guys do have specific questions pertaining to anything that we discussed in this training, I'm going to give you a number that you're going to call in. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it in the chat. Because I've asked everyone, do they have any questions? And I'm kind of not getting, I think they don't want to put their business out there. So I'm going to just humor everyone and give you a number that you can actually reach me at to ask the question that you need to ask, because this stuff is moving very fast. I haven't even gone into the other side of the fence of all right, your transmittal bonds are actually credit driven. What do I mean? Well, for most of you guys, if you're doing the transaction, the minimal bond is going to be $100,000, and then the maximum bond is going to be $2 million. So what that means, let's say you got a transaction that's less than $100,000. That means they get to play up the rest of that bond. Did I say that? Yes, I did. A transmittal bond. This is why you need a notary in this, because see, if you get creative, you know that the smallest transmittal bond is a $100,000 transaction. They may only need a $28,000 transaction. That means there's some extra proceeds that can be situated, if you will. And there's a reason for that. See, maximum when it comes to wire transfers, the minimal transmittal bond is going to be $100,000 and maximum is going to be $2 million. That's how that whole thing works. Now, you can get strategic in what I'm saying if you get with a civil law notary who, again, is not being paid out of the transaction, so to speak, but his fees have been situated. Because if the fees have been situated, then he can write this platform however you need it. ADP is your paying agent. So once you got the bonds endorsed and have sent them to where they need to go, now you just need to have ADP run payroll. But they got, don't do no wire, direct deposit. You know why? Because you got transmittal bonds. And if you're doing that to help them in their public obligation, like, for example, you got a client that just went through arbitration. They got a car purchase they're trying to do. They're trying to do a home purchase, whatever it is they're trying to do. You can utilize that transmittal bond that I just showed you in TSI. That's one bond. See, that's the internal bond from arbitration. And then with my guys that actually write the bonds, because I actually got a small group of trustees right now that, I'm a boy. The reason why I'm excited and I'm on YouTube, I'm not in my space. I'm in my space. I don't come out. I'm like a hermit. I stay where I'm at. I came out of my shell because my guys are getting ready to bring some stuff out there, and they need to make everybody aware that, hey, if you need help with what you're trying to do, then you need to get the information over to them in order for them to make it work, because they already got the commercial paper and the bonds to move the capital. Here's the cost. Oh, there's a cost? Well, you thought all this stuff was going to be for free? No, it's a cost. I can't put a price on somebody else's intellectual property. Okay. It's credit based. So if you got at least a 680, you probably can get this done right at about, give or take, $2,500. $2,500 gets you a transmittal bond that will move your commercial paper, however you got it. This is for you guys that's got gold and silver, however you got it, into a space. Remember the transaction, minimal bond, $100,000, maximum bond, $2 million. So the cost, or the size of the transaction and your credit is going to determine how that's going to be used. It's going to determine how that's going to be used. So you have to understand how all that stuff kind of plays out. Hold on for a second. My children are calling me. Hold on.
If they couldn't call and upset your family because they had no way to reach you directly, you need not ever be directly accessible to anyone unless you have intentionally given them your contact information. We believe in living your life hidden in plain sight, HIPS. Ideally, neither you nor the strawman will ever own anything or have any income. 1. Learn the difference between open email and private email. Look at the form that appears on your computer screen when you want to send an email. First, it has where you are sending from, your email address. Then it usually will have additional lines entitled CC, BCC and subject or re. If you are going to email more than one person, always send email to multiple people in the BCC, blind carbon copy, line. Then you will not be the source of having passed out others' email addresses to people they may not know, especially if you have not been given permission to share it. Only use the open address line when you definitely want to share everyone's email addresses and have permission to do so. 2. Utilize an answering machine, voicemail, or a K7.net, J2.com or fx.com. The faxes and VM will be forwarded to your email, as your primary phone number which you put on applications, accounts and forms, and to give to people you don't know, people you may not wish to speak with, businesses and service providers. Audit all calls. Utilize the delete button. You can install a separate phone number, which you only give to friends, family and associates to contact you. It is well worth the installation price. You can return phone calls to the people you wish to speak with. This means forming a new habit of giving VM number to banks, creditors, government agencies, DMV, insurance companies, utility companies, hospitals, doctors, grocery stores, businesses, magazines, newspapers, schools, etc. You will speak to them by returning phone calls when it is convenient to you. 3. What if you were starting a new website and did not want everyone in the world to know your physical address? Following the philosophy of number 2 above, the same principle applies to your physical location. We suggest you establish a private mailbox, PMB, for all your mail and not have anything delivered to the street address you inhabit. If they don't know the physical address, they won't show up and knock at your door unless you give them the address. Yes, picking up mail at a PMB is a minor inconvenience, but it is a small price to pay to protect your privacy. All PMBs will sign for and accept package delivery for you and the entities you manage. 4. Notify everyone as appropriate, businesses, vendors, friends, and family, of your personal/business change of address. Update all your accounts and identifiers, driver's license, voter registration, return address labels, checks and bank records, utilities, charge cards, magazine subscriptions, grocery store discount cards, of the appropriate PMB for your private business and for church business. Rome was not created in a day. 5. Change your return address labels to reflect without prejudice below your name and request that people send mail to you in the same manner. Without prejudice means that you do not necessarily agree to any undisclosed terms not on the face of the document, and your right to come back and retract any such undisclosed rules is not prejudiced, it is without prejudice. It is likely that you are unfamiliar with the many postal regulations and rules, so how can you agree to them? Below is a sample address format. True name without prejudice, care of mailing address, city, 93,551. State spelled out, non-domestic. Without prejudice is a jurisdictional issue, see the article. The Constitution guarantees the post office and postal roads, not home delivery. When you get home delivery, you contract with the state, U.S., for a benefit. The benefits bind you to the national debt as a U.S. citizen, and your use of the two-letter state abbreviations as well as the zip code are an adhesion contract to which you likely do not know the terms or even all the USPS regulations. Mail from post office to post office does not bind you. Post office boxes are the same as home delivery. The only thing protected is general delivery. 1D Preface.
All right, sorry about that. matter of fact, let's go to my screen now, because that was my little ones calling me. Let's now go into the actual layout for some of these agencies, like this agency right here that I'm finna go to, Go Capital. I got a working trust contract with these guys. This is their portal for loans. Those of you that actually have these transmittal bonds and need liquidity, I can easily utilize. Like, I'm gonna kind of show you what they got going on right here. Let's go into, let's see what products they're offering. What do they got? What are the deals? What do they got? What do they got? Leads, marketing. Let's go to marketing.